The first movie released in February, or at least the first movies, I should say, the first one up, is a movie called 80 for Brady. I shouldn't have seen this film. I have no idea why I watched this film.
Why did you?
For those of you who don't know, this is Lily Tomlin. It's Sally Field. It's Jane Fonda and Rita Romano, and they are or Romano. Anyway, they are all fans of Tom Brady. And they decide, you know what, screw it. When is the next time we're going to see Tom Brady in the Super Bowl? We got to go. And it's basically, if you've ever seen a movie like Detroit Rock City where they're trying to get tickets to see Kiss, or if you see, what was the other one? It Takes Two with the Olsen twins, where they're just trying to get tickets to the show.
It's a hype movie, basically. It's a hype movie for Tom Brady, apparently.
It really is. And it's a road film for these ladies. My favorite line, by the way, is at the very beginning where they're talking about, you know, what we're going to do this. And somebody brings up the fact that Jane Fonda got them all these T-shirts, and on the back it says 80 for Brady. And so Sally Field gets one and she goes, but I'm not 80, because Sally Field's only like 76, 77 around there. Mm-hmm. And Rita Moreno goes, neither am I, because she's 90. And if you understand that, it's just the way she read it. The way she read it had me giggling. The way, because I thought, okay, that's that.
It's the acting. Yeah.
It really was. It really was. And here's the thing about this film. The reason why I say I shouldn't have watched it is there's no reason for me. There's nothing to drag me into this, except for I find Lily Tomlin to be funny. I think Sally Field is an excellent actress. And in all honesty, if I'm being honest, 90-year-old Rita Moreno, 50 years ago, was one of my first crushes, which I realized, wait, she was 40?
It's some personalities that you like, trying to hype up Tom Brady, and they released it just in time for the Super Bowl. That's the only reason this movie exists.
And here's the thing. I said this about another movie in the January films, and I'll say it about this one. There is nothing original in this film. There is absolutely nothing. You have seen this film so many times, done so many different ways.
It's book club with Tom Brady, basically.
The big thing about this are the personalities, and I've got to be honest. The personalities carried me through. Now, will I recommend it? No. You know, if you're the audience, I'm not going to try to convince somebody who isn't the audience for this film that they are. It was entertaining. It was enjoyable. It was forgettable. And I stand by my statement. Now, talking about someone who used to make entertaining and forgettable movies, we've got to go to M. Night Shyamalan. Shyamalan. Okay, there we'll go with that. He has been on a renaissance. He did The Visit, which was just, once again, stupid fun. He did Old, which at least it was confusing fun. And this year, he did a movie with Dave Bautista called A Knock at the Cabin. And I like this film. I really like this film. This is one of those films that when I watched it, I was like, it was all right. Then I kept thinking about it. And there's a couple of scenes in particular that I kept thinking about that I just was wowed.
It proved that Dave Bautista has dramatic acting chops, which is not something I would have expected.
You saw it then?
I did. It was.
Cool. We'll get grades from both of us then.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I still say that M. Night Shyamalan's best movies are his superhero trilogy. But it's certainly on the rough level of like an Old or The Visit. So it's nowhere near as bad as The Happening or Last Airbender.
Yeah, Last Airbender is probably the worst of what he's ever done. To me, this movie, the first scene where he comes up and he's talking to the little girl, I had chills. Here he is. He's absolutely nice. He's a great guy. Dave Bautista is one of those people who I'm sure he's a great guy, but you can never forget the fact that when he's in the room, you're alive because he hasn't decided to kill you. Yeah, he's just that big. That's what I thought. Like I met The Rock once. He was at Universal, and he shook my hand. It was like this. I felt like I was, my uncle was going, "Hey, buddy," that kind of thing. And when I was 7, my hand disappeared. I'm a 200-pound dude. My hand disappeared in his. And that's kind of the way I figure with Dave Bautista. He's like, so he's talking to this little girl, and he's talking about how he has this job to do, and he doesn't want to do it, but and it's kind of chilling, especially when she goes into the house. She's an adopted little girl, 2 gay fathers, and she goes in. She goes, "No, we got to go. We got to go." And they're on the back porch, and when they walk in, they hear the pounding, and they realize all this stuff that the daughter is wanting, and it's like, uh-oh, what's going to happen? Never expected the plot, because they only shown a few scenes. And it made it look like it was a home invasion film. Never expected the plot at all.
It reminded me a lot of if you remember Doctor Sleep from 2019, the opening scene with Rose the Hat and the little girl named Violet. It reminded me a little bit of that kind of creepy segment.
So I don't want to spoil too much of the plot for those who hadn't seen it, but I think previews have come out now that you understand it's these people have shown up because the apocalypse is coming, and they have to convince this family that one member of the family has to be sacrificed in order for the apocalypse to be assuaged. And it's something when you find out that if a member of the family isn't sacrificed, that they have to sacrifice one of themselves. It's just a really good horror film, but it's a quiet horror film. It's not in your face about anything. It's things that when you watch, you have to think about it as it goes.
It's almost as though Shyamalan has learned not to play his hand too hard for once.
Yeah, and
he has a bad habit of playing his hand way too hard.
Yeah, he's way over the top as far as some things are concerned. But this one is one that I really liked. I gave it a B+. Where do you stand on this one?
I am going to stick it at a solid B, I think.
Okay, I'm actually writing this down. So there we go. Maybe we can get the Extreme Movie Show guys to jump in, and we can actually see where some of these movies fall. Alrighty. Next up, I did a review of the Legion of Superheroes film, so check that out on the channel. And the next one is a Shudder film again. It's called There's Something Wrong with the Children. And this is one of those we were talking about earlier where independent films, they have to learn to deal with the fact that they don't have the money for the big special effects. Like instead of creating a big alien or something, you just roll the alien next to a curtain with a light on it.
Hitchcock's Law. There's nothing more frightening than an unopened door.
There you go. And in this case, you've got it's another family going to the woods in a cabin. By the way, I think that's the 6th or 7th so far this year, including the one we just talked about. 2 families go to a cabin in the woods to have their holiday. And while doing so, there's some ruins not too far from it. So they decide to go explore. These jackanapes decide that they're going to let their kids run around these dark ruins. And they end up near a hole. The family finds them and they start panicking. No, we got to get you out of there. We got to get you out of there. And as they do, they start noticing that the kids are acting a little strange. And you find out that the kids had been taken over by aliens.
Okay. Because why not?
Because that's the plot. And so it's the adults trying to survive their children trying to kill them, basically.
Yeah.
And there's not much I could say about this. It's on Shudder. That's about the best I could say. It's a C film to me. I mean, it was average. It wasn't bad for what they did, how much money they spent. The kids were fine. They weren't precocious little shits that you wanted to smack around a little bit. no over the top stuff. There was a couple of actual good scenes as the kids take the adults then become aliens, or inhabited with the aliens themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one scene where the final girl is
Mm-hmm.
trying to make it out of the cabin herself while all of them are searching. And I thought that was a very well done scene, because it's the keep low kind of thing. Go, every little floorboard squeak could alert them and such. And I thought it was a decent scene in an otherwise kind of forgettable movie.
And actually, speaking of the return of the cabin trend, backing up to Knock at the Cabin for just a second, I found that it reminded me a lot of Cabin in the Woods. Like, I could see it almost existing in the same universe.
In the same universe, yeah. Like it's the new way they judge humanity.
Or this is like a different faction of how they do what they do, kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay, I was looking at this. I was going, "Oh my gosh, I forgot a movie. Like I don't understand. I don't remember what this movie is, and it just popped in my head." Okay, next up, the next one I saw is a movie called Your Place or Mine. Ashton Kutcher and Reese Witherspoon. They're good friends. They live, I think, one's in New York, one's in LA, and they decide they're switching. They'll do a little switch because he's got work in New York and so forth. She's got to do something in New York, and he decides he'll be her babysitter, and he's going to watch her son and everything. And I got to tell you, I'm a sucker for these kind of films. I'm a sucker for romantic comedies. I am, if they're good, obviously.
Yeah. No, I believe me, I get it. Like I like the 27 Dresses, How Stella Got Her Groove Back, even Simply Irresistible, which was the Sarah Michelle Gellar one from years ago. I have a soft spot for rom-coms too. When in Rome, that kind of movie.
This is a rom-com where you never see the two together, until the end, because they're on opposite coasts. The main relationship that you want to follow here is Ashton Kutcher and the son, because the son's being raised by a single mom in LA. She's flaky. She's not teaching him to be a man. So Ashton Kutcher teaches him how to fire a machine gun.
Is the male influence.
How to strip a deer. In one scene, we're actually watching him eat a live raccoon. I thought, this is the kind of film that people need. I'm just kidding. What you do, however, see him is basically teaching him responsibility. Look, life's going to be hard sometimes. And you got to understand, you got to get ready for it, because sometimes it's going to kick you in the nards. And this, of course, is not the kind of message that Reese Witherspoon did. That's where the conflict comes in.
Right. But how dare you teach my son those things?
Overall, of course, there's no question as to whether or not these two are going to get together. It's just the journey is what really is important. And it was a fun and fine journey. I gave it a B-.
Haven't seen that one. I might have to give it a look.
Give it a shot. See if you like it. It might be it might be up your alley.
Well, I mean, it is Ashton Kutcher, and the last time I saw him, he was still cute. So even if it's not, I won't be wasting my time.
Up. Hey, look, I am very secure enough to say that he's kept up. Okay, so let's see what's next. Oh, speaking of up your alley, a film that is absolutely made for me is a movie that came out in February. They bumped Liam Neeson. It's not an action film, so they said no, you don't get January. You get February. And he was in a movie called Marlowe. He's playing Philip Marlowe, the detective. And it is it was pretty good. It really was. It was done as a detective story as well. A lot of times when you have a detective, it seems like they're bouncing and they're bumping into clues rather than
actually figuring them.
Yeah, and they allow Marlowe to figure stuff out. This is a noir film. There's violence. There's a lot of violence, and they have a little bit of the steaminess to it. But everything you want in a noir film is here. He even gets
that was going to be my question of how well they did the pulpy side of it.
They did it well. They didn't do the voiceover. You know, like a lot of them have the voiceover, and I kind of miss that.
Of all the detective agencies in all the world,
Yeah.
she had to walk into mine.
Well, why? If you got Liam Neeson to do Marlowe, would you cut out the voice?
The voice of Aslan and Ra's al Ghul, but you don't want him to do voiceover because stupid.
It would be like, we're gonna get Morgan Freeman to be Marlowe. You don't and voiceovers? No, we're not gonna do that. Yeah, it's bad idea. But otherwise, the movie was entertaining. It was pretty good. It was and I'm going to tell you, it was a solid, good film. This is a straight up B film, not like B like low budget, but I give it a B.
B as in quality level of grade. Yeah,
quality upgrade. I like that. Yeah, quality upgrade. However, we are now going on to a quality downgrade. I mean, this thing. Okay, so like Marlowe was made with professional actors, a lot of money. Okay, fine. It looks good. It's acted well. Now we're gonna go on. I'm not gonna say it's a slippery slope either. This is off a cliff. All right.
Wile E. Coyote.
No, not Wile E. Coyote. We're going to a different fictional character, and we're going to talk about the fact that Winnie the Pooh is now in public domain, and
Blood and Honey.
They did Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey this year. Did you see it?
I didn't hate it.
You didn't? I didn't hate it either. It is crap. It is bad. But it is wild.
A B movie.
It absolutely is. The acting is bad. The lighting is bad in a lot of parts. The gore is everywhere.
They did it on purpose, I think, because they made a B movie on purpose. Like it's if it were the 80s, it would have been released by, is it Blue Moon or Full Moon? I can never remember the title of the company.
This movie went all out for the gore. That's absolutely it. It is just silly, stupid fun. But if you want to see a bloody as hell film, Blood and Honey.
It's one of those movies of you know what you're getting. It's a movie called Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. If you're not into, let's do our B slasher horror movie but with Winnie the Pooh, if that's not up your alley, then why are you even watching it? It's why Cocaine Bear ticked me off, because it's like, you know as well as I know why we're all here. Don't try to
we'll get
dramatize it more than you should. Like,
as a matter of fact, we're going to get to that very quickly here. The only problem, or the biggest problem, I should say, I had with Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, is that I never got a sense I was watching Winnie the Pooh. It just looked like a killer with a Winnie the Pooh mask. I would have liked to have seen some dialogue, maybe some interaction with Winnie the Pooh and Rabbit and Piglet. You know, I would love the animals of the 100-acre woods to have been made into characters.
It seems like they're doing a little bit better with the whole Grinch, the mean one concept.
Well, hopefully. A movie that a lot of people said was crazy. I didn't think so. I liked it the first time I saw it. And when it was at the house and finally on Disney Plus, I was like, it wasn't bad, but I see the flaws in the cloth a little bit better. And that is a movie we have talked about. Mm-hmm. Ant-Man Quantumania. Now, we didn't talk about it on this site. We talked about it on I Love Comics. A quick rundown. I thought there were scenes I liked. I liked watching how Ant-Man could be a powerful hero. I liked the scenes with Giant Man in it. There was some good world building, but as I said before, they gotta stop using Kang. Show them doing things, not losing things. They've had him lose twice already, and I think that's really messed him up. Michelle Pfeiffer's fine. I would have liked to have seen more Hank and Janet rather than Hope and Scott, but overall, I liked the film. I think, though, I loved Ant-Man, and I loved Ant-Man 2, but I like this one. Where do you stand on this?
The Quantum Realm stuff was interesting. I thought Jonathan Majors gave a pretty decent performance as Kang. I can buy him as the next big bad if they still stick with that, which they probably won't now, but whatever. The big problem was it just felt like a fetch quest, and like it's almost like they knew a concept that they wanted to play with, but they didn't have any idea how to elaborate on it whatsoever. And MODOK, let's just not even talk about MODOK.
There were times when I thought MODOK was the best thing about the movie. And then there were times
we don't talk about MODOK.
And then there were times where they didn't have him in the armor and they showed his face. But the thing is, I've seen that face. MODOK is a ridiculously funny looking villain. But the thing is, in the comics, at least up until recently, where they decided MODOK can only be a joke, in the comics, MODOK is dangerous, and that's the whole point. Sure, he looks ridiculous, but he will kill you. He will end your good mood. And that's
he is the mental organism designed only for killing.
If they played this movie more serious than Marvel movies are allowed to be, and they just had, look at this funny, it's Darren, do you see it? And then he actually 100% is trying to kill them, I think they would have gone better. But unfortunately, they tried to nerf him, and they succeeded. Speaking
much too well. Yeah.
So I gave it a B. I think it's a good film. It's just, it should have been great. What about you?
I think, if I remember correctly, I think I gave it a B minus.
Okay.
I think I might lower that actually a little bit, because it hasn't held up for me as much as I wanted it to.
One thing I told people in our review is, if you have a chance to see it on a big screen, because it's better there. I was right. Now, a film that you said you were mad at, this is the last movie we're going to do, and then we're going to call it here, is Cocaine Bear. I wanted to see that. I saw the preview. I was like, holy shit, I wanted to see this. Just like Meg. You remember the Meg? You remember how...
I love the Meg.
They showed in the previews, this movie is going to be bonkers. It's the same thing I thought about Cocaine Bear. This movie's going to be bonkers.
And then they decided to be pretentious with it.
There was a scene in there that I thought was bonkers. But yeah, the ending where it was almost like, message. It was like, come on, guys.
If I may resume my previously established rant, guys, it's a movie called Cocaine Bear. You know what people want to see. You know why you would make such a movie. Let's not act like it needs to be the Seventh Seal all the frickin' sudden.
The more intelligently you write it, and by that I mean, I'm not saying don't make a smart script.
The less sincere you make it, the more annoying it is.
Yeah, if they just let it go, if they went balls out, I think this would have been a lot better film. As it is, I still liked it. I think it's a good film. I think it's an entertaining film. I think, however, this could have been an A+ film. This could have been a gonzo. It might not be the best made film, but it most definitely is the most entertaining. I think it could have been that. They had one scene, had they kept that energy up, and that's the ambulance scene. If they kept that energy up throughout the entire movie, or even the opening with the Australian tourists, I thought that those two scenes had such high energy that had they been able to keep that up when the Cocaine Bear was on, obviously you need slow times, getting the characters known and all that in order for those scenes to hit. But even after, even when you see the Cocaine Bear, except for those two scenes, they kind of slow those down as well. No, every time the Cocaine Bear was on screen, there should have been some crazy shit happening.
It's a bear on cocaine. This shouldn't be this hard. Like,
there's a scene. There's a scene where he is where there's a guy up a tree, and the Cocaine Bear ends him by running up the tree. How much better would it have been if Cocaine Bear swiped that tree and just took a chunk out of it? It would have been insane. It would have been obviously not realistic, but it would have been like, holy, okay, this is cool.
But that's not that. But realism isn't what we were going for. We were going for the promise of those two words, the concept of Cocaine Bear.
Yeah, real Cocaine Bear died of an overdose. We don't want to see the Cocaine Bear dying of an overdose. We want to see him going.
We want to see moderately decently budgeted, basically Sharknado, but in this case, Cocaine Bear. Like that. That's the level I think everyone was promised. And as such, I think I'm a lot harsher on this movie than you, because when they announced Cocaine Bear and the way they marketed it, I was so on board with the concept. I was like, yes, give to me a B movie, but with an actual decent budget. Give to me that. Like, that's why I really like The Meg, because even though The Meg doesn't go quite as far as, it doesn't go full Sharknado, it's still, it's a Jason Statham movie with a megalodon, and like, it does have some of that B movie energy to it. This one, though, and I know you're gonna hate my comparison with this, but this is another example of why I hated the movie The Menu, because it's like, this concept should have been a home run just instantaneously. Take premise A, insert it into stylization B, Bob's Your Uncle. But instead, it's like, let's talk about how much smarter we are than you, audience, and how much we bait and switched you with this concept, herder.
You and I totally disagree on The Menu.
I know. Okay, I hate The Menu for reasons that you don't understand, and you like it for reasons I don't understand. We know this, but that goes back to my point of enough with the themes, enough with the pseudo-intellectual gobbledygook. Just be a sincere, fun, engaging version of the premise you're operating with. That's how you sell me on a movie, and this movie is the antithesis of that. So okay. I give it like a C minus B D plus. I'm not sure where I stick it, but I'm mad at the thing.
And for those of you who don't know, you know what? I'll put our grading thing at the beginning of the film. I'll record it, but yeah. D's are degrees of bad, C's are degrees of average, B's are degrees of good. I gave it a solid B. There you go. That's February for you, gang. We're doing catch-up video, so make sure that you're keeping an eye out. We're going to be doing March and April next, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for hanging out, and thank you very much to Dalton for chatting up a whole bunch of films you haven't seen yet. I appreciate that. You've seen a couple. When I'm doing stuff, I have the movies on. And it's very rare that I don't watch a movie, and I think I'll put on something new I haven't seen. And so okay, I
tend to revisit my old Standby unless something grabs me.
Well, we all have our differences. But as a matter of fact, I just watched a movie. Oh, it's in the March. I just looked down. I have to grade it. It's called Boston Strangler. So. Gonna see some of the ones that, of course, that we missed in January. Doesn't mean that we're not gonna have we're not gonna have a second chance at these things. If you haven't seen some of the movies that I've talked to you about, maybe you're like, yeah, I want to check that out, like 80 for Brady. Yeah, you might just love it. You never know. You're not gonna like that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, gang,
Cocaine Bear should have done 50 more lines. Is all I'm gonna say.
There you go. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for Dalton. Like I said, talking about movies he's already seen as always. Thank you very, very much for watching. Have a good night or day.
Cheers, guys.